Kongversation.
Until I regrow my lost limb, I need to fashion a peg leg. Luckily, I keep a peg with me at all times.
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Nick Prol.
And this week, we're going to be discussing something that every other outlet on the internet that talks about video games has already debated in the last week or two. Why are we doing it? I don't know. Because I guess we are saving the really pertinent topics for the Kongversation, like, I don't know, which evil snowman character is best.
Or is Leaky guilty?
Yeah, there you go.
What are we talking about today, Hyle?
We're talking about DLC, the old downloadable content. That sounds like a fetish video, but no, downloadable content, the bane, apparently, of many Nintendo fans across the internet. We're going to be getting into this debate a little bit. We're also going to be bringing it back around and discussing how it relates to the Donkey Kong universe, because we have to keep this somewhat on topic.
Well, I have Google up. I'm all ready. I have tons of, ginger hair in front of me. Wait, DLC does stand for Donald Logue's chest hair, right?
Oh, Nick, you're going to be grounded for life for that comment.
Oh. Hey, Ween did the theme song for that show.
I haven't thought about Ween in about a decade.
Really? I thought about it this morning.
We're recording this a little bit later on a different day than we normally do, so I'm getting reoriented, and it's going to take me about a half a second longer for me to catch all your witty bon mots that you lob at me. So,
well, you're like a DLC download. It takes a while.
That's right, yeah. So, this is a big controversy right now, the whole idea of making people pay to get a better experience. But before we discuss it, let's talk about Patreon. So if you want to listen to the Kongversation live, support us for $5 a month on Patreon. If you want to get to the Kongversation a day early, you can back us at $2 a month. That's dkvine.com/Patreon. All right, let's talk about DLC. So, I'm an old man, Nick. I've been around. I saw the Berlin Wall fall. I was there for Watergate. I watched the Beatles on Sullivan. I punched Hitler in the face that one time. But I'm spry for my age. I take my vitamins. I get sleep when I can. I'm relatively youthful, but at my heart, I'm ancient. And I remember that once upon a time, buying a video game was a relatively simple affair.
Yeah, all you had to do was bribe your cousin Rick and get it in the back of his van, and you got it.
I'm not talking about drugs, Nick, or whatever you're buying out of a trunk of a car.
Neither am I. I'm talking about BMX XXX, Leisure Suit Larry, the stuff they didn't sell at Walmart.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry. We almost became a Leisure Suit Larry website.
Really?
It was a toss-up between Rare's Shared Universe and Leisure Suit Larry, and
Swanky Kong's kind of similar.
Yeah, Swanky Kong is our Leisure Suit Larry, yeah. Or what was the other one? Custer's Revenge?
Oh, yes, a fine game.
I believe that was Humba Wumba's mom in that game.
And that was Saberman's grandpa.
Somewhere Chris Alcock is taking notes to find a way to shoehorn that into canon.
More like Chris Allween, am I right? I love Chris.
We love Alcock here on the Kongversation. But no, you made your purchase in a place called a brick and mortar store, and in your hand, as you took this thing home, was a complete experience. You would bring it to your domicile and know that anything that could be done in that game was possible with enough patience and skill, or barring that, a game genie or Game Shark. All you had to do was turn on the power of your system and begin playing. And, that was it. It was simple. It was clean. There wasn't any fine print or anything you had to worry about beyond.
You say that, but I played that game Banjo-Kazooie. That was not a complete game. There was a key that I could not find anywhere.
The key was behind that sheet of ice. And
yeah, a paywall. It's always been around.
To be fair, there was a way to get that key. The code was just released later, even though the whole rollout of Stop and Swap was obviously botched, and that's been hashed out numerous times throughout the years. But yeah, I mean that was the first complexity I ever encountered when it came to not being able to actually beat 100% a game was Stop and Swap, or we didn't even call it Stop and Swap then. I mean, it was like the Rare Witch project that like uncovered the Stop and Swap menu, but we just knew it as the ice key and the question mark egg, the two that we saw at the end of Banjo-Kazooie that Mumbo showed off on his Polaroids. And that was the first time I encountered that, and that was like mind blowing at the time, because what do you mean we have to wait for the sequel to come back into Banjo-Kazooie and get these? How does that even work? And I envisioned a lock-on cartridge like Sonic and Knuckles.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was the first time that the whole concept that you could redo or go back into an old game and breathe new life on it.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, the first time that was
Sonic and Knuckles, the first add-on content. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I didn't have a Genesis, but I still kept up with, what was out on the Genesis. Yeah, I watched TV, and I watched, a lot of video game commercials since I watched kids programming. And so, I mean, everything was like beamed directly into my eyeballs. So
it was a blast process right into you.
Sonic and Knuckles was kind of, I didn't even understand. Like, it's like, does that really work? How is that even a thing? Because up until this point, they were just hunks of cartridge, complete experiences.
No, I guess there was like the Game Boy player, which had like the extra frames and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that was more just, it didn't really do that with the older Game Boy games. You had the pre-programmed frames that you could choose from, but it was only in the Super Game Boy augmented Game Boy games that had the exclusive frames. And yeah, the Donkey Kong Land trilogy, of course, had beautiful frames. And the palm trees for Donkey Kong Land, the bananas for Donkey Kong Land 2, and the stopwatches for Donkey Kong Land 3.
And not a lot of people know this, but on a few Choice PS2 games, if you actually staple a cupcake to the disc, it changes.
How do you staple a cupcake?
It's messy, but it does work.
You would have to have a long staple, though, wouldn't you? I mean...
Depends on what cupcake you're using.
Okay. Now, maybe if you staple the cupcake holder, the, what do you call it, the wrapper, the thing, I don't even know what you call it. I'm not a chef. I don't know.
It's not just cupcakes, though. I mean, just imagine if you wanted something to be in a game, you could just staple it to it. Now, that's add-on content.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way it really works, Nick.
Oh.
It's not as magic as you think it is.
I tried with Banjo-Kazooie, putting eggs on the cartridge, and just broke my N64. Got all yolky. Started looking like a Pikachu N64 after a while.
What are you talking about?
They had that Pikachu N64, and it was
I know,
yellow.
But why would you crack eggs? Okay. I don't even know what's happening here.
This is a premise where I have no brains.
Yeah.
Not unlike the real world.
I was like, this premise is not really clicking, Nick.
I don't know. I like the idea of stapling things to discs. So sue me.
I just microwaved those old AOL discs, the 100 free hours or whatever.
That gets your modem speed going faster if you microwave those.
I miss having an abundance of AOL discs just to do shit with. Those were the days.
Coasters, frisbees.
Where were we? So anyway, as far as augmenting previously released games go, Sonic and Knuckles obviously was kind of a trendsetter, but this is something that, was around in the PC world long before console gaming. So it's not really something console gamers really had to deal with, but as consoles moved to disc-based games and then ultimately digital,
became harder to staple things to.
Yeah, it'd be a lot harder. Yeah, with digital, yeah, you're kind of stapling the thin air there. You had an option that you didn't have before. The studios had this option, and that was augmenting games much easier than before. You didn't need lock-on cartridges. You didn't need any convoluted hot swapping methods that the parent company would naysay. Yeah. No, you could just program new content after the fact and say, hey, you guys want this content? It's going to cost you. They could either sell it as completely, expansion packs, or they could just sell it as DLC.
Oh, yeah. This does bear mentioning expansion packs, because, I mean, and I don't mean the N64 one. Like, StarCraft or something. Like, back then we didn't have that much of a problem, like only a year or two afterwards, playing full price again for just like a little bit more stuff. So I'm wondering, how similar is that to DLC?
Well, again, and we're going to be getting into that, something like StarCraft. And I think the first time I really experienced it, because I'm not much of a PC gamer, but I love simulations. So I was big into the first generation of The Sims. And I had that. And then it seems like every year they came out with a new expansion for that until they released The Sims 2.
Yeah, there were quite a few. It was like Sims on the Town, Sims Bowling, Sims
Get Fucking or something.
After Dark.
There was like a romance-themed one, which I felt really
I
awkward.
remember that.
I felt really awkward asking for that for Christmas, because it's like, this is basically just... Is this like a sex simulator? But I don't know. It was a Sims expansion pack, so I had to get it.
Yeah.
I was really into that game for a while.
You could like mercilessly murder the Sims, couldn't you?
You could, and just not feed them, yeah.
You could have them like burn down their own houses or drown in a pool or something, right?
They could soil themselves, too.
Well, that's a fate even worse than death.
I didn't really mind that, but again, that was PC gaming, and it was kind of a different kind of game, so I didn't mind paying extra content to boost the value of that original game, which already had a ton of value. And
you kind of have to buy an expansion for your PC every year just to make it run games. You know what I mean?
Which is why I never became a PC gamer.
Exactly, same. But I mean, a whole ton of my favorite games ever are PC games, but I've never seemed to be up to date with PC gaming. You know what I mean?
I'm lazy, and I only have so much disposable income to spread around. So yeah, it's not going to be going into the most like advanced gaming PC known to man, and one that I have to maintain every year, because I'm not one of those guys who stands in line to get a new iPhone every time they announce one. I don't need to have the newest tech. I just need to I want to make the most out of the tech I have before I upgrade to the next generation.
Yeah, I'm always a few years behind.
I don't need to be trendy. I co-host the Kongversation, for Christ's sake. There's no need to be hip here. But I think there's this dividing line between console and PC that slowly eroded the more we got into the generations of disc-based games and then digital. And ultimately, it does sound beneficial when you view it from a distance. Oh, we have this complete game. And then if the developers want to add to it, well, we've got more content we can buy and make a richer experience. That sounds great. Yeah, but as gamers know all too well, I'm not really saying anything groundbreaking here. Too often than not, what would happen would be studios, in order to meet deadlines or specifically like holidays, they would release partially completed games, or they would specifically withhold content to get that pricier downloadable content bundles, shoving them into gamers' faces and saying, hey, you spent $60-some on this game. How about spending another $20 to $40? And
I think there might even be a bit of a dividing line between pre-order DLC, like pre-release DLC, and like DLC that comes out a year later. The huge jump in quality, because pre-order is usually like day one DLC. You can get a different pair of gloves for your hands and this cool little token that you'll lose in a day, But then like stuff a year later or something, it's more like, I don't know, sometimes maybe that team went on to do another game, but a portion of that team thought, okay, now we've perfected what we did on the last game. Maybe we have more of a story to tell or something. You know what I mean? Sometimes that can be pretty cool.
As far as like a day one DLC, the store specific exclusives.
Those suck.
Reserve Batman Arkham Asylum at GameStop and play as the Joker in battle maps. Whoa!
Only on PS3. But
yeah. I hate that. I hate that shit.
The first Dishonored game, there was DLC, and it came with like the definitive edition of it. I was like, I'm not gonna be playing that. And I was bored, and I played it, and I was like, some of this content is better than the main game. Like, so there are games where they do it right. It's so rare.
Well, that's the frustrating part, too, is more often than not, then there will be the Game of the Year edition or the Ultimate edition. I mean, we're getting that with Mario Kart 8 on the Switch.
I kind of actually like those, even though if I already bought the first one, I don't usually buy them. But if I didn't buy the first one, damn, those are pretty nice to have everything in one place.
But the thing is, if you're hardcore into the fandom, then it's ultimately going to be a case of double dipping. I mean, I guess you don't even need the Ultimate Edition, but usually they add even more stuff to that you can't get with DLC for the original edition. Mm-hmm. So it's just like when they release, let's say, something on Blu-ray, and I know physical media. I know I'm a dinosaur. I've already told you how old I am. I fought Hitler. But they'll release something on Blu-ray, and then 6 months to a year later, they'll release the extended edition on Blu-ray. And it's like, fuck you! You know, I just bought this 6 months ago.
All these kind of little tricks they play on you. But yeah, I guess just, and in a way, the definitive Game of the Year editions almost might reduce initial sales, because there have been so many times where I'm like, "Ooh, I'm tempted to buy that, but it's $60. I could just wait a year and get it with all the other cool stuff." You know what I mean?
It's really frustrating because I'm a big James Bond fan, and I'm rare to thank for that. And so, of course, Pierce Brosnan is my Bond, but I wanted to get all the Bond movies.
Mine is Woody Allen.
He was only one Bond in that movie, and he was a fake Bond. Fake Bond, okay? He was a fake Bond. I wanted to get all the Bond movies on Blu-ray, and so when the 50th anniversary came out around the time of Skyfall, I bought the James Bond box set that had everything through Quantum of Solace, and then a year later, they re-released it with Skyfall in it for the exact same price. And
Sky Mall.
Yeah, I know. I really thought Skyfall was going to be about James Bond ordering a Yeti lawn ornament. I was really, really upset when it turned out to be nothing of the sort.
It's just Adele. That's kind of like the Harry Potter movies. Like halfway through them, I remember they came out with some collection. I was like, who would buy this? It's not even over yet.
Yeah, and the thing with Bond movies aren't ever over. So if you do want to get a box set, you're just kind of having to buy with the knowledge that, this is going to be out of date within a couple years.
There's probably like a few people in every theater during the new, or right after the new Bond trailer plays, that scream out, "God damn it!" because they just bought the box set.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do warn you, James Bond will return.
Yeah,
that's not a promise. That's more of a threat.
The box set will return with another one in it.
All that said, a lot of gamers are fed up with this sort of thing. Because again, as far as gaming goes, this is only something that's really been around for a decade and a half, if you really want to push it, as far as console gaming goes. And not all gamers have a problem with this, obviously, but there's enough, and there's been enough that have had bad experiences over the years, that a lot of people are just instantly skeptical of DLC. They just immediately dismiss it, outright. Whenever you hear those three letters, they shut down and just say nope.
What would you say is your worst experience with DLC?
Smash Brothers 4.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad one.
We'll get into that because we're going to be talking about some Donkey Kong Universe specifics. But when a company is not really known for its DLC offerings, I think fans of that company tend to get even more pissy when DLC is announced. And that brings us to the whole reason we're doing this episode. So the Nintendo Switch is being released, and a lot of people are excited. I really can't be bothered right now because as much as I like Zelda, my wife is a bigger Zelda fan than I am. But as much as I like Zelda, I'm not a Zelda diehard. I mean, I got Ukulele coming out in 2 months. Sea of Thieves is in the air. There's technical alphas, and Microsoft is really like pumping up Sea of Thieves as like the big game of 2017. So hopefully, we've got a release date that's going to be announced at some point eventually. But so those are my two obsessions right now, Yuka and Sea of Thieves. And Zelda Breath of the Wild looks really cool, and I can't wait to play it, but I don't need to play it day one. It's going to be one of those that I'll wait.
And you don't need some extra treasure chest or some different colored robe.
Well, hold on. You're putting the cart before the opponent here, Nick.
Good point.
Let's talk about what this...
Because I could be wrong. Is that what it is? Let's find out.
Well, yeah, the Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC and the controversy therein. So, this is a quote exactly from Nintendo, word for word. Nick, why don't you take the honors and read this as Mr. Nintendo?
All right. What kind of voice should I go for here? Let's see.
Nothing racist.
Oh yeah. Like, that's the first thing you think I would do.
PewDiePie just got in hot water with YouTube for his racist shit.
No, my favorite content creator. My favorite Imagineer.
Let's try to be better than PewDiePie.
What's the voice of someone who's into money? No, I didn't mean a racist thing there. I'm saying a character.
Well, Donald Trump likes money, but I think we do that way too much.
I'll do it as Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood.
Sure, why not?
All right. Starting when the game launches on March 3rd, players will be able to purchase an expansion pass for $19.99, granting access to 2 new sets of downloadable content for the game when they become available later this year. Immediately upon pre-purchase or purchase of the expansion pass, 3 new treasure chests will appear in the game's Great Plateau area. One of these treasure chests will contain a shirt with a Nintendo Switch logo that...
Sorry.
Wait, what?
Continue. Just okay, continue.
Wait, is this real?
Yeah.
This is real?
Yeah.
Will contain a shirt with a Nintendo Switch logo that Link can wear during his adventure, exclusive to the expansion pass. The other 2 will deliver useful items. The first contact pack is scheduled to launch this summer, and will include the addition of a Caves of Trials challenge, a new hard mode, and a new feature for the in-game map. The second contact pack will launch in Holiday 2017, and it adds new challenges that will let players enjoy a new dungeon and a new original story. The expansion pass will be available for both the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U versions of the game, and are identical. Content packs cannot be purchased individually.
Beautiful, thank you.
So, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, okay. A lot of people are upset about this, and I've seen numerous articles, and I haven't watched them, but I know they exist. YouTube screeds from YouTubers who say, "This is it. I have canceled my Nintendo Switch pre-order. I will not be buying Zelda as protest." Okay,
the only thing stupider than canceling your pre-order of the Switch, for instance, is having a pre-order for the Switch.
I wouldn't go that far, Nick. I mean, people are excited about this thing.
I'm excited too, but to pre-order already, I don't know. I wait and see how things turn out.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a Zelda fan, I could see pre-order. Look, if they had a Donkey Kong game day 1, yeah, I'd pre-order this. Yeah, absolutely. So I can understand it.
True, and there are a few other things that have been teased that if they were day 1, I might pre-order it. But
yeah.
Okay,
yeah, so
you can pre-order it, but don't cancel your pre-order just because of I mean, they could have been held at gunpoint for that DLC idea. Maybe it wasn't the designer's idea.
Yeah, but I mean, if it wasn't, then it might be an even bigger issue, because then it's Nintendo who are, getting... Well, are they getting greedy? I mean, what are the merits of this? And is this the good kind of DLC? Because let's try to suss out what is good DLC versus what is bad DLC.
Nintendo Switch t-shirt, bad DLC.
Okay, so...
Dishonored DLC, good DLC. We're done.
The Nintendo Switch, yeah, this is my issue with this DLC. Okay, Zelda, the mainline Zelda series is not a game series that is known for downloadable content. And for good reason. It is an adventure where you're uncovering stuff within the universe of the game. It's a quest. It's, high fantasy, whatever. So when you can pay to just have chests beamed into the Great Plateau area, and one of those is a Nintendo Switch logo shirt, that just breaks immersion completely. Like, why is this high fantasy setting, this token-esque, like, Arthurian kind of world, why are you wearing a Nintendo Switch shirt?
That breaks the immersion tenfold.
So yeah, I know Rare games, they're notorious for the amount of self-promotion in them. Rare logos appear everywhere. I know that. But I'm not seeing any rare T-shirts in Sea of Thieves. I mean, maybe there
Not
will
yet.
be. Maybe there will be.
But that would make more sense because that's a company with a history of doing that.
But I also have a philosophical issue as somebody who treasures game lore and canon and in-universe justification for things. I have a fundamental issue with you're going to buy this content that you can't otherwise access. It seems to me inauthentic. I mean, granted, it's not great. I mean, this initial, so you can buy the season pass, as they call it, or whatever, and you get this bonus one right when you get the game, and that's this these 3 new treasure chests. But
imagine you go over to your friend's house and it's like, hey, what you doing, man? Or girl, and they're like, oh, just playing Breath of the Wild, and they're like, oh, that's cool. What does Link have on? Oh yeah, check that out. It's this red T-shirt, solid red, no texture, just with the Switch logo on. I paid $7 for it.
Yeah. But beyond just the Switch logo, I'm not gonna get hung up on that. I think it's stupid.
I'm hung up on it. God damn it!
I'm gonna cancel my Switch pre-order based on this Nintendo Switch shirt and Zelda.
I'm gonna set up a pre-order. I'm so mad.
I was so mad. I did that as a grizzled old prospector. I don't really know. Probably because he dug up all that gold and he was going to use that for his Nintendo Switch, and he's just so upset.
Oil, gold, it goes hand in hand on the show.
I like the other 2 chests will deliver useful items, which could be just extra rupees for all we know. The vagueness of it is just kind of laughable. But and then the first content pack is coming, and it will be a Cave of Trials challenge and a hard mode, and a
hard mode, something every game should come with,
and a new feature for the in-game map. Which again, what is it?
The map will talk to you.
Is it going to point north? I don't. So I do have an issue with hard mode being something you have to buy into. That's something you should unlock.
Unlock it by beating the game on easy mode or something. I don't know.
And
Cave of Trials is more along the lines of what I would find acceptable, but then even that's once you've run out of all other ideas, I would think. Yeah,
and I also just don't like the idea of what does it mean beating the game? What do you get when you complete all this stuff? Like the holiday bonus packs with the new dungeon and the new quote original story. I don't know what that means.
So there's side quests or something?
Yeah. So I'm of 2 minds about this because I really don't know if this is justifiable or not. And I've tried to think about this since it was announced. I've tried to plumb the depths of my soul. And I really don't know how I feel about this. So I want to cross-examine this with DLC we've had in our universe, our Donkey Kong universe, and try to determine what makes good DLC, what makes bad DLC, if there is any good DLC. I don't know.
Can we also discuss Run DMC?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their collaborations with Aerosmith were good DLC.
Oh, hell yeah.
But first, let's take a call.
Why not?
Hey, it's Karate Joe, and I'm calling into the Kongversation about the Zelda DLC thing. I guess I'll tell my stance on it first, because I know you're also curious. I'm kind of neutral. Not eager to buy anything. It's not coming out for a while. Even the lesser things are coming out in summer, I think. And then fall for the worthwhile bits. So I'm not going to worry about myself too much. There's a lot of other things that, coming out in between that I don't really need to buy it too early. Snake Pass. Let's talk about Snake Pass. That game looks pretty cool. I like it a lot. You play as a snake and you do realistic snake movements. Sort of. Snake looks kind of weird, but you get used to it after a while. I did. Looks really nice. Oh, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. That's what won me over. And it's composed by David Wise. Which, that should win any Donkey Kong fan over. But yeah, it looks great. Really excited. It's sort of like Banjo-Kazooie, in a distant sense. Just how it like hides collectibles. Oh, that's what I'm super excited about. I like finding collectibles. That's why I like Donkey Kong games and Banjo. And why I will like Snake Pass. And what I present to you is a theory from the Snake Pass. Could be a Pepito Kong in relation to Radley. And that's my question. Thank you.
I admire the pivot, Karate Joe, of calling in on an on-topic statement and then
you're a real snake in the pass. The chat's going crazy, though. I mean, because they have been mentioning Snake Pass this whole call and demanding we listen to it or talk about it, and now someone does. But Snake Pass, it's not DKU yet, right?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be DKU. It looks
having
really
David
cool.
Wise compose the music
know,
doesn't make it DK.
Yeah, Snake Pass is being developed. It's a UK developer, actually. Let me look up who actually is developing it, but it's
Brave
clearly inspired by the games of Rare.
It looks really colorful and charming.
Yeah, they wanted to get
Sumo Digital. There you go.
Okay, and actually, Snake Pass is actually a location as well. It's a hill pass in the Derbyshire section of the Peak District.
Well, there you go.
So anyway, they were really excited because they got David Wise. They have a big influence from the N64 games of Rare. Granted, David Wise didn't really do too much music in the way of the N64 games for Rare. It was mostly Kurt Cope and Beanland. Wise did Diddy Kong Racing and it was working on Dinosaur Planet, and then which eventually came to the GameCube and Star Fox Adventures. But yeah, Snake Pass. I first heard about it when they announced the David Wise acquisition, and I was like, "Whoa, this game actually looks cool. It looks like a nice twist on the. It's not really a 3D platformer. They're billing it as like an action puzzler." But 3D nonetheless, so it will set itself apart from the ukuleles of the world.
Yeah,
and
it's more like a 3D Slitherer.
Yeah, the ukuleles and the Lobo Destroyos and the Hat in Time. So, I'm excited about Snake Pass, and I think I'm going to check it out when it comes out. But
what if that snake is related to Trouser?
Well, Platonic, the way they're making deals left and right with indie developers for, cross promotion.
You never
I
know.
wouldn't put it past them, yeah.
David Wise connection.
Karate Joe actually has offered some DLC from his original call. So we are going to add it on to make the Karate Joe Call of the Year edition.
Hope you have a stapler on hand.
So here we go. Maybe this will be more on topic.
Let's hope. As much as I like Snake Pass.
Yeah, a call that was related 75% to Snake Pass. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, it's Karate Joe. This is actually an addendum to my previous call, so I hope you play both. I guess my main point with the Zelda DLC is that, like, they announced it really early, like, probably way too early, I think. I mean, it's March. Not even March. And it's coming out in, like, June, I think. July. The first bit, like, I don't know, like, is it necessary? They probably shot themselves in the foot a little bit by announcing it before release, I think. Since not a lot of people are a fan of that. I don't really care too much. Anyway, second, before you ask about the Pepito Kong rule, there is a DKC2 dev on the Snake Pass team, and his name is David fucking Wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Karate Joe, again for the call. Yeah, I think the timing is the biggest issue people are having with Breath of the Wild DLC.
When does Breath of the Wild come out?
It comes out on launch. Right?
Why does he keep saying June? Is that when the DLC comes out?
That's when the DLC 1 comes out.
Why does it come out so long after?
Yeah, exactly. See, here's the thing. Nobody wants to buy something that they already know is a incomplete game. Yeah. They want a full experience in it. Even if, probably there will be DLC down the line, you don't want to worry about that when you get the game. And because I would be playing through Breath of the Wild and I'd be thinking, all right, well, I can't even really beat it now, can I? So it's kind of just this mental scar, especially for those of us who are slightly OCD or have our own insanities that we follow. It's kind of hard to really get into something knowing that
I'd compare it to their choice to release the 3DS Smash before the Wii U one. It's kind of weird like that.
Yeah, I hated that. I really hated
weird
that.
Logic they have over there.
Because by the time the Wii U, I didn't care when the Wii U game came out. I was just, it's like, oh, okay, well, it feels like it's already been spoiled, Yeah, I think, a lot of this was just bad marketing and bad press. They should have handled this a lot differently. People are already excited enough about Zelda. Why did they have to basically piss in the pool and say, hey, we got this coming out? Because they should have known this was going to be controversial. If they thought they were getting out in front of it, then they don't know their own audience that well.
Now, some of our audience, we should know, Gibbon seems to be pretty frustrated by this whole conversation. He feels that as a developer, there are a lot of ins and outs, and we don't have any idea how it works behind the curtain, so why complain? And I'm not, like I said before, it could have been that the true artists who envisioned this game, had a vision for this game, might have been in a room and someone came in and said, well, guys, I just got a call. We're going to have to, do DLC. And they might have all been like, oh, for crying out, way to shit all over our art. Maybe they were against it. So, I'm not blaming anybody in particular. So, when we say it was a stupid idea to say it this early, we're not saying it was that the creator of this game's fault. Just whoever made that choice. I know we don't know how it works, but we still, as consumers, can be unhappy. I mean, I don't even care about this that much, but come on, it's a topic that's related, so we got to talk about it. So,
I mean, I don't know how magnets work, but I still stick them in my fridge.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna buy Breath of the Wild day one, so I'm just gonna kind of wait and see how that all plays out with that game. But
yeah, and again, I think people would be excited if they had the game for 6 months or so, and then they learned, hey, you've got more content coming. Then it would be like, oh my god, I thought I was done with this game, but this is exciting. There's going to be more coming out. I don't know. I don't know why Nintendo would do this announcement before the game's even out, because and granted, they want people to buy the season pass early, and they're offering them those 3 new treasure chests and the t-shirt for Link to wear. But I think they could have just cut out that whole bit right there, and they should have just offered. I mean, Nintendo could offer both DLC 1 and DLC 2 at the same time, let's say holiday 2017.
Exactly.
And I know Nintendo likes to do these tiers of DLC. They like to do the 2 waves, and then if you buy them both initially, you get these minor features. But I
feel like they were almost so excited to be like, we're just like the rest of everybody. We're doing DLC now. We got to tell them. Let's tell them. But it's like, no, guys, it would have been way better received if a month after the huge success of Breath of the Wild, assuming it is a success, they were like, we got a little bit. Yeah, we got a little. I mean, a success as far as response, as to whether it's a good game or not. You know what I mean?
I think people are so hyped about it that there's no way it's going to get bad reviews. It's one of those games that's essentially
really
the goodwill is already locked in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe they'll be blind to it. I mean, what if it is introducing a mechanic?
I'm sure it's going to be a good game, Nick. I mean, it's Zelda's. There's never really a bad Zelda game. There's Zeldas of varying degrees of good, but there's never really
sure. I mean, that's a
Zelda.
Yeah, that's a
minus the CDI games, which should be viewed as canon.
Twilight Princess, but I won't go there. But it's not that bad. You
dislike certain Zeldas, or like some Zeldas more than other Zeldas. But
yeah, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying this is one that's introducing something brand new, which is a huge open world and physics, and with that, I mean, stuff can get broken. You know what I mean? A lot easier. Mm-hmm. So you never know, is all I'm saying. But I'm sure it'll be great. But the point was, it'd be way cooler if like a month or two after the huge success, they came out with like, we got a little bit more for you. You know what I mean? Then people would be like, oh yeah, a reason to play this game again.
Yeah. And, you know, as far as the whole controversy is of you're selling people an incomplete game, well, I look at most of this DLC and I don't think it's really essential to the game. I mean, if they're specifically withholding, say, a story that they cut out of the game and they're adding to DLC, that's one thing. But if it's just additional content, I mean, it's a fine line. And again, Gibbon, in our live stream chat, we don't know the motivations behind the developers or even the company. So it's hard for us to cast judgment, nor should we cast judgment. But
that is kind of the point of a show like this. Like, even if we're completely wrong, that is like the entire point of why you would listen to a show, is just to hear people BS about games.
Well, and I'm trying to suss out too, like, I don't know if I have an answer for the Zelda DLC. Like, is this good or not? Because some of it feels silly. Some of it feels like it's stuff that should be in the game. And other stuff feels like, okay, that's reasonable DLC. So I'm of three minds about it.
It's pretty... I mean, when I saw it, I rolled my eyes and thought, wow, that's a really bad decision. But it could come out and be awesome. And then, like, for instance, it's like... there are some atheists that will never believe in God, even if God walked down from the heavens in front of them. What I'm saying here is I don't believe this is good DLC, but if it comes out and it's great, I'd be happy to join the religion of thinking it's great.
So you're kind of agnostic.
Exactly, but DLC. Yeah. I would gladly change my mind if evidence is provided to me. So I'm not just trying... I think I'm one of the most open-minded people on DK Vine from what I see. I mean, I like a lot of things. You know what I mean?
I think Mamechi's got you beat just a little
bit. He's pretty open-minded.
Anyway, so like I said, I'm of three minds about this. And I think at this point, because I'm going through withdrawal symptoms, we need to talk about some Donkey Kong universe aspects before I, drop to the ground and just become paralyzed in pain. So let's talk about the history of DLC in the DKU, a brief history of DLC in the Donkey Kong universe, and then we'll take some more calls and we'll try to kind of figure out when is DLC a good thing and when is it a blatant cash grab. So, the Donkey Kong universe, we talked about Stop and Swap being kind of the first time we were encountered with this notion that, hey, you're done with the game, but you're not really done with the game. Mario Golf for the N64 and Mario Tennis for the N64, 1999 and 2000 respectively. They were kind of the first time you beat a game, but you weren't actually done with the game because they could actually connect to the Game Boy Color RPG games that also bore the same names. So you could take the characters from Mario Golf Game Boy Color, things like Kid and Joe and those characters.
Classic, memorable characters.
I remember Kid. Kid's awesome. Joe's
to most
awesome.
people, I'm saying.
I played as Joe, but Kid has one of the best story arcs in the entire Donkey Kong
I remember you
universe.
mentioning that in a past podcast.
Yeah, he suffered a career-ending injury, and he can no longer be a professional golfer by the time the Game Boy Advance sequel rolled around. It's
most
great.
People tear their ACL. He tore his DLC.
So you could take those characters and use I don't even remember what it was called because Nintendo's had so many damn peripherals over the years, but it's the one that would connect the Game Boy Color to the N64, and you could transfer content. It's how you used... Isn't it how you used Pokemon Stadium?
I think so. Yeah.
So you could beam the Mario Golf GBC characters and the Mario Tennis GBC characters into their respective N64 games, and then use those characters. So that was kind of kind of DLC in a way, but it was more like, oh, hey, here's a treat for if you have both of these games. And it was just kind of a nice little bonus. But that, then, there was that proto DLC. And then there is this wide golf. You could do it again in Mario Golf Toadstool Tour with Advanced Tour, but oddly enough, the Game Boy Advance Mario Tennis game would not work with Mario Power Tennis in the same way. They cut out that feature entirely. So that kind of bugs me from everything should line up perfectly. My OCD standpoint, it still bothers me. Anyway. Viva Pinata, I think, was the first major game ever in the Donkey Kong universe to have actual honest to God or honest to log DLC. And you had accessory packs. And I think Viva Pinata is a game where it kind of makes sense because again, it's more of a simulation than anything else.
Sure,
it's kind of like The Sims. You can get this extra content in here. And
it's a collect 'em all kind of game. So here's some more stuff to collect.
Right, or more shit to put in your garden.
Yeah, not collect-a-thon it rather, but I mean, it's one where there's lots of different creatures you want to get in your garden. If there's new stuff, then that makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it if there were like exclusive pinata, like breeds or whatever. But if it's just
now,
little statues.
Cam asked a good question. Was Viva Pinata's DLC already on the disc?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that is another separator of DLC. Sometimes there's DLC where you find out it was on the disc you already had and you had to pay for it. So that kind of adds insult to injury. It's like,
that's
wow.
The most egregious. Yeah. That is where you kind of start to see red.
Yeah, red ring of death.
Yeah, I went through 360s.
It's like an Xbox.
Thankfully, my Xbox One is. I am a Microsoft shill, fake paid actor, but I just want to point out the Xbox One is a solid piece of hardware. I have not had any issues with that my entire time of owning it. Where the 360 was just a piece of utter shit.
Yeah, it's doing its job, not playing anything really well for me too. I'm just kidding, but I'm not as privileged as some people I've heard about over in UK playing Sea of Thieves and stuff. So I have nothing to play on it right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick.
But one day
you should get. I was gonna say you should get Project Spark, but that's a no-go.
No. I mean, there's lots of good games on it, but all of them are multi-platform, and I just chose to get them on PS4, I guess.
You can get Rare Replay.
Oh, I have that. That was the first. That's why I bought the system.
#IDARB.
I'll look into it.
All right. So then, and it doesn't surprise me that it was the Microsoft wing of things in the mid-aughts that first brought DLC to the Donkey Kong universe. That's not surprising.
Sure, yeah. Old Bill.
And then, of course, you had Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts, with Logs Lost challenges. And
I like to view that whole game as DLC, actually.
Oh.
No, that's a positive. It's
how's that?
I had to pay for it like DLC, and it gave me extra Banjo-Kazooie content, and I couldn't complain at all. It's just not, history has not shown it to be viewed as a great Banjo game, but it is great Banjo content.
I think history is changing, though. I think people are really coming around to that game.
No, I think it's a great game. I just don't... We've had this conversation. A great game versus great Banjo game,
Yeah, but I think with enough time, and now that we're getting Ukulele, and since Rare Replay, people are giving it a second shot, and they're not just taking JonTron's word for it.
Okay. Yeah, and Cam says he's not sure about the Viva Pinata thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It would have paid to do some research on that, but I didn't even think about that being a possibility. I just assumed, because you don't really hear about that, it being on the disc, much anymore. I mean, I think maybe back then it would happen.
Maybe they hide it better.
Yeah. So anyway,
but not hating on Nuts and Bolts at all. Just saying, maybe DLC. I think DLC could be a good or bad thing, as we've said on this show. We're neutral kind of towards it, and I think I don't know. It's kind of fun to view that game in my mind almost as like bonus Banjo content rather than it helps it go down smoother for me, I guess.
I see what you're saying. Well, and I didn't have a problem with Logs Lost challenges because it felt like a bonus after the fact, and it didn't really feel too manipulative, you know. And yeah, I mean, I'm white knighting Rare a little bit because Rare did it, so it's fine. I can find a way to justify it. Oh, I love you, Rare.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think I initially cringed when I first heard about, you know, DLC coming for Nuts and Bolts, but ultimately, I think it's proved to be just fine. And it should be pointed out that Logs Lost challenges are on the Rare Replay edition of Nuts and Bolts. So
during that era of Microsoft Rare games, they like Viva Pinata Simulator, they had a lot more I don't know how to explain it. Like they made games they were very sandboxy with lots of options and customization. So DLC for those games kind of makes more sense because like you're getting new car parts to play around with, new things to build maps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do. Yeah, and
they were ahead of their time with a lot of that stuff, actually.
I think when you're looking at the in-universe implications of it, having a deity-like log in the game makes DLC go down smoother. It's not just like, here's this cave that I somehow never discovered in my entire adventure that has suddenly beamed into existence.
Of all the games, that one, it makes the most sense.
It does, and so it's. I think it's situational too. It's like I don't really have a firm and hard stance on DLC. I'm fine because I didn't know my opinion really going into this episode. I really wanted to suss it out on the air and try to plumb the depths.
I still don't know my opinion.
Yeah, but I think I'm finding out it's completely
dependent on the game.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I didn't really realize that about myself before, but.
Do I like the idea of Zelda DLC? No, but that doesn't mean it might not be great.
I'm trying to remain open-minded for once. For this one time, assorted cameo games has also utilized DLC, and that's really when it became a thing for Nintendo. At least from our perspective, we had games like Mario Golf World Tour that had extra features, and it had the tier. The whole you can buy both DLC packs now and get extra colors for your Yoshis, but
I think the cosmetic stuff is the stuff that really pisses me off. I mean, I guess if there's a desire for it, then it makes sense. They're supplying for a demand, then that's awesome. If someone wants to change the color of armor in a game or something and pay for it, that's fine. But it just seems so tacky to me to charge for that.
Yeah, it reminds me of like somebody who tricks out their car or something just to show people, oh, look what the money I have. Isn't this impressive?
Yeah, but the coolest gear in games is gear you had to unlock in the game or earn in the game. Whenever it's something you bought, it's never as cool.
It's never as cool. Yeah, I feel like there's a certain hollowness to it.
Exactly.
That you want to be seen as somebody who's accomplished something.
It's like if you could buy Pokemon and you're like, dude, I have every Pokemon ever. It's like, oh, whoa, you caught them all? No, I just paid for them.
Yeah, and Pokemon Go, thankfully you can't just buy Pokemon. You can buy all that gear to catch Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I have a philosophical issue with that, although with Pokemon Go, it's also hard if you live out in the country to really, get
it's a very classist and regionist game.
Yeah, Pokemon Go is a game for the coastal elites.
Yeah.
And here in Trump country, we have to buy our way into Pokemon Go.
You're lucky if you find a Rattata in your bathroom. I don't even know what that means.
Well, it's because we built the wall and they can't get in. I'm not saying
Mexicans are rats, Hyle?
No. Oh, YouTube, I swear, this is not another PewDiePie situation, please.
No, he has viewers. We're way different.
Please, YouTube, continue your fruitless relationship with us. I'm going to start drinking here on the air. So, the various cameo games, but the big cameo game that really made DLC prevalent was Mario Kart 8. Which we already talked about on the air as far as
you had whole episodes about it.
Well, and there's going to be a Switch episode about Mario Kart 8, or Switch release for Mario Kart 8 that combines all the DLC and adds the new battle mode,
which is awesome.
Which is awesome.
Isn't. Okay, the new characters, the new non-Mario characters, that's an entirely philosophical thing of whether you're okay with that or not. That's just totally depends on your own opinion of what you think Mario Kart should be. So I'm not going to just straight up say objectively, like, those are awful. But they're a huge turnoff to me, so, like, I don't really care about those. But I think all the new courses or new race tracks and stuff is pretty cool to have.
Here's the thing, and I'm not really going to get into the philosophical debate about whether Link should or the Inkling should be in Mario Kart.
They shouldn't.
Although I will point out that I kind of like having like Animal Crossing characters in Mario Kart. I didn't at first, but it's kind of grown on me just because it gives Donkey Kong some cover for not being a Mario character. It's like, oh no, what are you talking about? Yeah, Donkey Kong's not a Mario character.
Yeah, but he was in the initial release. He wasn't guest DLC, you know what I mean?
Shut up, Nick. Shut your face. I mean...
You sound like the chat.
Donkey Kong, he's his own franchise. Look, he's in a game with Link and the Animal Crossing people. It's fine.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Yes, this is what I tell myself whenever I'm in bed and the demons start talking to me.
Good old demons.
I don't have an issue with the Mario Kart 8 DLC, and this is something we discussed on the air a couple years ago, and that's just because it was really worth it for the value. You were essentially buying, and with the amount of racetracks it offered, you were essentially buying a complete game. It doubled the amount of tracks in Mario Kart 8, so... really, it was a bargain, and you really shouldn't complain because Mario Kart 8 was already a complete game, and all the DLC did was add so much more for a relatively cheaper price.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't. Games really shouldn't like. We have this idea that certain games should be certain price points. Like, or all games should be a certain price point. Like, oh, it's a console game, so it should be this amount of money. But some games definitely are more worthwhile when it comes to the amount of time you spend in it and how great the game is. So, should those games cost more if there's more development overhead and it takes longer to build versus, shovelware?
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe. Now, Mario Kart 8 DLC I thought was great, but Super Smash Bros. 4 DLC, all in all, I didn't really care for a lot of this because a lot of it felt like a cash grab.
Mm-hmm. I mean, anything for the Miis I didn't care about. Anything Fire Emblem I didn't care about. And that's not even bias talking. Like, you could honestly sit me down and show me how the new Fire Emblem characters in the initial release of Smash 4 are really cool characters. And I'm sure I would think they were. I just think they did not need more Fire Emblem characters, and Cloud was just And once again, I think a lot of people think because I'm on a show talking about this that I'm passionate about it. I'm actually kind of not. I really couldn't give a shit. But I'm just saying, if you had to ask me, like, I didn't get mad when I found out Cloud was in it. You know what I mean? I didn't have any physical reaction to that. But if we're talking about preferences. I didn't like that because it was like, what? The least Nintendo character ever over other Nintendo characters that could have been in this. It's kind of stupid, but
I feel like we're going to be rehashing Smash 4 battles up until Smash 5 gets announced.
Well, you brought it up.
Well, okay, but we're talking about DLC, so I kind of have to.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, obviously, the thing is, like, I'm not even talking about the quality of the DLC characters. I'm just talking about, like, the Mii costumes and the various. It at a certain point, it felt like it got excessive. And yeah, I don't have to buy it, but it's just, it started to feel like they. I don't know. I don't know what it is. What is the difference between the Smash 4 DLC versus the Mario Kart 8 DLC that I find objectionable? Maybe it's just because I am biased against Smash 4 and I'm a weirdo. So I don't really know, but I just felt like a lot of it was less vital than the Mario Kart 8 DLC. less of a bargain. It felt like it was inflated. Like there's no way these Mii costumes should cost this much, or I should be able to pick and choose which Mii costume. I shouldn't have to buy a bundle to get the K. Rool Mii costume.
The Mario Kart 8 DLC, Link or Splatoon characters or not, still had like beautifully crafted, thought out tracks that are fun to play and see fresh to play on, but Smash 4 stuff just kind of seemed like I don't know. And I have no bias against that game either, so just didn't excite me.
Yeah, I think if you could pick and choose what you wanted, and you didn't have to buy them in these cash grab bundles, that would be where I would find it more reasonable. Like, okay, I want that K. Rool costume. Purchase it for 99 cents, whatever. Done.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's what if K. Rool was a downloadable character in the game? Would that change my tune? Was it really just because I didn't care about any of the DLC characters?
If K. Rool was in that game, it wouldn't suddenly go from being something unexciting to me to the greatest game ever. It would just be a little bit more exciting.
We've already discussed that even if K. Rool was playable in the game, it wouldn't salvage the Smash 4 experience for us, because I feel like that game is fundamentally not what I'm looking for in a Smash Brothers. I'm a Melee guy. Yeah, I loved Melee. I think Brawl, for all of its faults, at least
tried. Not that they didn't try in 4, I'm just saying. But tried it in a direction that we liked.
They tailored it more to the hardcore Smash fans, and that's fine. But I
Melee
Smash.
Melee either had a magic that the others didn't, or I was just the exact proper age for it. I may have just grown out of this.
Because you're younger than I am, and Melee I spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours.
I think that did have a magic to it.
Yeah, and I think it's because Melee was for Nintendo fans, and Smash 4 is for Smash Brothers fans. And
Cloud
is
fans.
A difference. All those Cloud fans. Well, I mean, there's a lot of Final Fantasy fans. I wasn't trying to be snarky. I don't know.
No, there's tons. I'm just saying he shouldn't be in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, he can be. There's no rules, whatever, but doesn't float my boat.
We don't want to offend anybody. Yeah,
I just don't want to sound like one of those internet nerds who speaks in absolutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
I don't want to say it shouldn't have been No, we are nerds on the internet. I'm saying we're the nerds on the internet that sound. Okay, never mind.
I know. So many people get upset because they think we just absolutely hate Fire Emblem. And granted, we had Memechi on the show 2 weeks ago, and so we're not interested in Fire Emblem. It doesn't mean we hate Fire Emblem. We get fatigued about all the Fire Emblem support coming internally from Nintendo, but it doesn't mean we hate it. It just
absolutely not. Same with Final Fantasy. There are games in that series that I absolutely love. I just don't. It didn't get me excited to see it cross over into the game that I grew up knowing as being all about Nintendo's All Stars. That's all.
Yeah, well, and that's my final thought about Smash 4 for this week is that Lord. It's no longer the Nintendo All Stars. It's Sakurai's sandbox, essentially. It's Sakurai playing with all the toys he ever wanted to play with.
If he has as much say as we say he does. Do you think he does?
I mean...
It's all just him being I want CloudNet, end of story? Or is there external pressure?
We're not there. Yeah. We don't know.
I'm trying to take Gibbons' stance on this one.
Yeah, we haven't bugged, his studio, but Smash is definitely presented as an auteur experience. It's developed, it's promoted. He's got a massive team working with them,
which is weird because the majority of the characters aren't his. But it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's presented as his vision. If
it is like a kid playing in a toy box, like you said,
like Master Hand. I mean,
he is Master Hand.
He is Master Hand. Yeah. So we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Amiibo really quick, because Amiibo are in essence DLC. They're just instead of going to the eShop and clicking this or that, you're essentially going to the store and buying a figurine that can then scan something.
They're HC, holdable content. maybe.
So the difference between amiibo and DLC is actually just in semantics, but I think people have less of an issue with amiibo because you're getting something at least somewhat cool. I mean, I'm not like an amiibo collector. I'm not a diehard who has to have every one of them. I get the amiibos that mean something to me, or at the very least, that will unlock something really cool in a game. So, I don't know. I think you can make the argument that amiibo, excuse me, pluralized it. Whoops. Amiibo don't do enough. You know, they don't. They're kind of superfluous compared to, again, the other Toys to Life figurine series. But yeah, at least there's a big difference between, oh, I've got this little figure of Samus Aran that will put a Samus hat in Mario Kart, versus, oh, I can buy a Samus hat in Mario Kart in this bundle for so many dollars.
Gotcha.
Again, it's a fine line, but it's one that at least is firmly in the sand for me. Now, there is also DLC, Nick, that made some games part of the Donkey Kong universe. This is something that DK Vine struggled with when it first became a thing, because we realized we were in a whole new era when a game that's not originally part of the Donkey Kong universe then gets additional content that makes it part of the Donkey Kong universe. And what we're talking about is something like Minecraft.
Or the Mr. Pants cheat in Jet Force. Oh, wait. That didn't count.
I'm going to smack that beard off your face, Nick.
It's already off.
Oh, you shaved?
Yeah.
Sorry, your Skype profile picture, by the way, is a picture of Matt Corna with a white beard.
So it's hard to tell.
face.
I do know, yeah.
Yeah, so I just assume that you are another Matt, like he cloned himself and he called this one Nick Prol.
I like to make my avatar whatever I'm aspiring to be at that moment.
So yeah, what I'm looking at when I'm talking on you at Skype is Matt Corna with a Santa Claus beard on his face.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like DLC.
Minecraft, of course, became part of the Donkey Kong universe. At least the
Hyle, in this political comment, with all this Nazi stuff going around, you don't need to bring up his book.
I've made that joke so many times, Nick. Oh, don't tread on me, Nick.
Oh, are you Snake Pass all of a sudden? All right, let's move on.
No, initially it was for the Xbox 360 version of Minecraft before Microsoft bought Mojang, and suddenly everything goes in Minecraft now. But there were rare characters you could buy as part of a bundle for Minecraft as your little guy walking around. Your what is he called? Steve. But
let's go with that.
Place is Steve. Okay, Steve, like with a question mark after his name. I don't know.
Is that like the Blue's Clues DLC or something?
I hear that guy died. Did you hear that?
That's not true. Wait, is that like a clickbait thing?
No, it's an old urban legend.
Oh, really?
Steve from Blue's Clues died from a drug overdose.
Hashtag bring back the Steve is dead.
Lee Loveday actually clarified that yes, it is Banjo, it is Conker, it is Tootie walking around Minecraft. It is the actual characters. So that was the first case of DLC making a game part of the DKU. But we also had Connect Sports Rivals. They had additional content, rare-centric content. This is right around the time like Craig Duncan took over and Phil Spencer took over, and they really started angling for the Rare Renaissance and for Rare to recapture that old magic and to celebrate their heritage again. So what they did was they released a DLC for Connect Sports Rivals, where various Rare characters would offer new challenges. And so we had, for example, Mumbo Jumbo in that game.
That's
offer
cool.
new challenges.
Did not know that.
So we had Connect Sports Rivals. Project Spark is obviously a big one. Rest in peace, Project Spark, because you had Conker's Big Reunion, which was essentially DLC story that you could download. And then you could download all the Conker assets to make your own game.
Yeah, I guess that was a purely DLC game, huh?
Yeah, Big Reunion Part 1. And out of one was the was DLC, and that was a add-on to the Project Spark game. There was also hashtag IDARB, I think is the most recent example, where they had a rare team that you could get as DLC. Or I don't even know if it was DLC. I think it was just update to the game. So this was they just updated the game in early 2016 and added a bunch of new content, including rare characters. So Killer Instinct characters were in there in the initial launch, I think, and then they had a rare limited team featuring Banjo-Kazooie, Conker, a Fudgehog, Saberman, Cameo, Joanna Dark, and that's how hashtag IDRB became DLC. So that was like free DLC, so that barely counts. So I was going to ask, when is DLC a good thing, but I guess when it's free is pretty damn good.
Hell yeah. I can't complain about anything free.
All right, I got a few more calls to take, so let's take them, see if they have any insight into this debate that we're really getting nowhere with.
No.
And then we'll try to wrap up the episode by hopefully having some sort of declarative statement, but probably not.
I'm glad we touched on it, at least.
Hey, this is Log Frog, or Brandon from the stuff, and I've been even calling the conversation for like a while, and I guess I finally do now. So I saw the Zelda thing, and it just seems a bit superfluous. Like, I feel like it didn't really need to be like a paid expansion, because like, I mean, if they're gonna put it there, then why not just take a few extra days to put it in there actually? So, I don't know, like, I guess like, I was gonna give examples of like some DLC, I guess, but like, I've been playing recently a lot of Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, and that game has in-app purchases, but like, the only in-app purchases they have is just like, just a couple extra coins. Like, it's like it's not needed to like beat the game, but like, I guess it like enhances your experience. I guess you could buy more stuff, but like, Plants vs. Zombies 2 on like iOS and stuff, DLC just feels a bit, I don't know, scummy, I guess, because like, you have to pay for like, the game's like hard as balls, and like, it's so like, and that mentality will like make the game hard so people will pay for stuff to make the game easier. Like, it just feels really artificial, I guess. I mean, like, that's really all I have to say. That I think there can be a balance between at least decent DLC and like kind of scummy DLC. I see ya.
Well, thank you for the call, Brandon. Yeah, scummy DLC, as he calls it, versus authentic DLC. He brought up in-app purchases, which we already brought up with like Pokemon Go, but philosophically, I do have some issues with in-app purchases because, again, it's kind of breaking the immersion. It's like you're using real-world money to skip a couple steps.
Yeah, I'm definitely against it. I think there has to have been times when I've used it, like if I just didn't have time to do something and I wanted to see something. I don't remember, though. I've always been kind of against the idea.
Yeah.
But hey, this is the capitalist society we live in. It's a good idea to milk people out of their bucks.
There you go. Yeah, Nick, spoken as a true Wall Street tycoon.
I'm not saying it's good. I think it's scum too. But I'm just saying, hey, if you work for a company and they're like, we could get more money by doing this, and we're not hurting anybody. They know what they're doing. They're choosing to pay for it. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the call, Brandon.
Hello, Kongversation. It is Kevin Folgers the Bulger, also known as Croconut on the forums. Oh no, downloadable content. Whatever shall we do? Well, here's what I think of downloadable content specifically. You know, it wouldn't bother me so much if downloadable content was a thing after a game's development was complete and the team reassembles. But it seems to me like a lot of the time there seems to be content cut out of the final game. And this absolutely is the case with Breath of the Wild, because there's going to be downloadable content available also alongside of the game's launch on March 3rd. So that kind of infuriates me. I mean, those poor Zelda fans already had to wait years for this game, and to not even get it at full price at launch, look, that's fine. You want to add downloadable content later, Nintendo, that's okay. But, you know, the full price game package should be available of what is available and completed at the time. For all we know, all the downloadable content packages can be completed. Now let's look at something else, for example. Let's look at Super Smash Brothers. It seems to me like development of the characters began after the game was complete. But I'll tell you, Sakurai had those anime swordsmen planned this whole time! Sorry, I must contain myself. Damn, we could have had that crocodile, but instead we got 2 Fire Emblem characters. So that was probably a gist of Sakurai's excuse to add more Fire Emblem and anime swordsman characters, but yeah. For me, downloadable content, good and well, as long as it happens way after or further after a game's development and release. Also, some prices are a little outrageous, but that's a subject for another day, on my behalf. DLC needs to get good or get the hell out. Have a good one, Kongversation.
I think Kevin had a little bit too much Folgers in his cup this
Yeah, his machine's working fine.
Thank you for the call, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I think he's kind of clarified something in my mind, and I wasn't even considering this distinction ahead of time. It definitely seems to be more of a personal insult, not a personal insult, but more an insult as a consumer if the DLC is planned or created like simultaneously with the initial development.
Even announced later would be like, even if it, for instance, like,
keep it a secret.
Yeah, keep it a secret. That's why I felt like this announcement was stupid. I was just like, even if you're done with it, yeah, most DLC is probably done way ahead of time. Just wait a month after, and then it'll be way more, like, it'll go down smoother. It'll be like, oh, wow, I just beat the game, actually, so now I am kind of hankering for a little bit of extra stuff. But
I don't mind being lied to.
Yeah.
You know, just tell me that you love me, Nintendo.
It's like if you're being cheated on, wouldn't you rather just not know about it?
Just live in perpetual darkness. It's bliss. Trust me. No, I actually completely agree, Kevin. I think you really hit the nail on the head.
That's what we needed, some clarity from Kevin.
Or hit the head on the nail. Wait, what? So yeah. Okay, so I think this is most people's issue with the Zelda deal. Now, granted, I still would argue that my primary issue with the Zelda DLC is that Zelda is a adventure game and not some sort of simulation or some sort of thing that you're going to want new assets for to make make more of a experience, in the
I feel like open world RPGs
of,
like this one could benefit more from expansion than a DLC.
Or like expanding the game after you beat it. Like, oh, once you beat the game, then here's going to be the secondary story, this mini story that starts up. But not something that can like exist side by side.
Have like
with
part of a forest gated off with this huge gate, and you're like, dang, how do you get in there? And then like a month after you beat the game, it's like, hey guys, remember that gate? There's this whole area in there you can go check out now. This is an expansion. That's cool. But not like this.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a philosophical issue I have with something like Zelda having DLC. But the truth is, if this is going to be successful, this DLC, we're going to be seeing a lot more coming from Nintendo.
That's why you must boycott this DLC.
Cancel your Switch pre-orders. Really stick it to the man.
No, don't do that. Just don't buy this DLC.
No, I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
I think it's silly. Anybody who's really that upset about it, when the thing to do would be boycotting the DLC, not boycotting the Switch. I mean, you're still going to get a more or less complete Zelda game. I don't think any of this content is going to break the game by it being absent if you don't buy it. So,
it's not like 5 years after Breath of the Wild comes out, someone will be like, man, that was so crazy in Breath of the Wild when Link like grew mechanical wings and flew around to the tune of the Benny Hill theme, and then you're like, what? That wasn't in that game. It's like, oh, you didn't play the DLC? Like,
Truthfully, Nick, I would buy that DLC.
True.
That sounds amazing.
I would pre-order that.
Everything is better with yakety sax.
Everything.
Including this episode. Maybe I should layer some. Well, actually, we can't because YouTube will pull it. Can you give me...
Here, anyone listening, just take a CD of yakety sax and staple it to your iPod.
Shit, that's the way it works. I was going to ask if you could just like hum kind of a copyright-free rip-off of yakety sax. Beautiful. All right. That should keep the lawyers at bay. One more call, and then we will give our final thoughts on DLC. So you at home know how to feel about it.
Hey, Hyle. Hey, Nick. What's going on? It's ACZ. Just wanted to call up and talk to you guys about the whole DLC debacle that's going on with Zelda Breath of the Wild. Personally, to me, my thoughts on it are... Oh, yes, I forgot to mention Special Agent Ape is with me, but yes, it is pretty stupid, and it's actually kind of disappointing because Nintendo's actually been really good with DLC for a while now. I mean, Mario Kart had some amazing DLC. It also had some really cheap. It was also really cheap, that's the thing. You could buy the pack separately. Same thing with Smash. I know that one was a bit more contentious with the forum as well as Mario Kart, but they were really well priced, and they gave you a lot of bang for your buck. Hell, even Mario Golf on 3DS had a pretty nifty season pass. But with Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's just kind of baffling. I mean, one of the packs just gives you like a Nintendo Switch t-shirt. It's like, yeah, it's just wear our logo. There you go. Don't you want to buy this? And, I mean, a hard mode? Really? Like a Master Quest version? That's supposed to be in the game already. Why are you making, like, what's supposed to be a regular mode? Like, why do you have to buy a hard mode? That's completely stupid. I mean, like, I am interested in the other story stuff, but, like, I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm probably going to end up getting it either way, but it's just kind of nasty and not like Nintendo. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think, so see ya.
Well, thank you for the call, Ags, and in the background there, Special Agent Ape. Nasty. Wow. Harsh words.
Nasty women, apparently.
Nasty men and women responsible for this decision.
Yeah, he pretty much echoed my thoughts on the hard mode and the shirt. The rest, let's see.
The shirt is stupid.
You can't even defend that. I'm wondering, can you get it in the Wii U version? Or is it a Wii U shirt?
Get a Wii U shirt, yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. I think hard mode is the one area where I would argue that should not be DLC. No. That should just be something you unlock for beating the game.
And if it is, don't tell us about it yet. It's just like, don't they know gamers? Like, they're going to hate that.
There's a certain psychology to kind of breaking this kind of news to somebody. It's like a kid, finding out their parents are getting divorced. You got to break it to them gently and know it's not their fault. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we've said everything there is to say. I think DLC, I mean, it's not going away anytime soon. It's going to be around as long as video games are a thing, and so long as we have an infrastructure, online infrastructure to have new content beamed into them, or even updates every now and then. So we've got to make our peace with it, and the only thing we can do is try to pressure the companies to make DLC we want and not DLC that is shameless. So, do you have any final thoughts on this?
Only that chest hair, it turns out, is 2 words, so I'm going to start looking up Donald Logue's cock.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.